This is
Curtis Briggs, attorney for Max Harris.
Tyler Smith, attorney for Max Harris.
James Mulgannon, attorney for Max Harris. Michael Seville, attorney for Max Harris.
Before I begin my statement, I'd like to have a moment of silence and acknowledgement for the victims of the Ghost Ship Fire tragedy and the families who are undoubtedly going through a difficult time, regardless of where we stood and as far as Max Harris's involvement in that. Our hearts really have gone out for them. We know this has not been an easy process, and we certainly keep them in our prayers. This isn't a time for us to talk about the 2 years that my innocent young client has spent in jail. I think this is a time to thank the community, thank all of the community for their tremendous outpouring of support for Max Harris throughout this process. I want to thank the jury, even the jurors that didn't continue to deliberate along with everybody else. Everybody quite heroically put their lives on hold, worked diligently to come to a verdict, and we are eternally grateful for the verdict they came to for Max Harris. Obviously, there's a lot of people to thank. There's at least 24 people that volunteered on our legal team to help. Too many names to mention, but Alameda County Public Defender's Office, San Francisco County Public Defender's Office are two organizations that we owe a tremendous debt to as well for their assistance. Finally, we want to call on the City of Oakland and Alameda County to use this as an opportunity to clean house, to become accountable, to recognize the tremendous duty they have to the citizens of these communities to do their job, to do it well, to protect, to serve, to be accountable, and to have the courage that when something goes wrong to step forward and say, you know what, we made a mistake, even if there are 36 people who died. The community needs that from the City of Oakland. The community cannot be safe until we get accountable leadership in the city and in the county. And that's been not the biggest tragedy, but next to the loss of lives and the tremendous impact on everybody who lost loved ones, that's been the biggest tragedy here, is not one Oakland City official has stepped forward and said, this is how we're going to fix it. This is how we're going to make this community better. This is what we did wrong. Not one city official had the courage to get up on the witness stand and tell the truth. You know, it was just very, very sad. And this isn't a time to celebrate for Max Harris because this community's sick. This community's sick because the leadership is sick. And we need reform. And we need a change. And that's our challenge to the leaders here in this city. If you care about the city, you have pride and integrity, then do something and be honest about it.
Max had 2.5 years behind bars. What's next for him? How did he get his life back together after all this?
It's going to start with a nice vegan meal that's not served by Santa Rita Jail, and then we'll take it from there.
Once he found out the verdict, what were his first responses and reactions?
He tried to stop me from crying, and you know, he was emotional, and we were all emotional, and we didn't really say much.
Curtis, for the family members who obviously believe, some family members believe that your client, Max Harris, is guilty, what do you say to those folks who feel like they've been dealt with another kind of injustice?
First, I want to say I'm sorry. As somebody who's lost a child, I understand the pain, and I know that they likely will never be able to find peace with what happened, and that I apologize that if anything that we did inflamed them. I was always under the belief that Max Harris was innocent, and I did what I had to do to get him home, and our hearts are with those families and everybody who's been victimized by this tragedy. I'm going to turn this over to my co-counsel Tyler Smith to make a statement.
you know, none of this ever would have happened in the first place if the income inequality, the injustice with respect to the income inequality and the housing crisis weren't as bad, wasn't permitted to get as bad as it has gotten in the Bay Area and in Oakland in the last few years. These artists were living in this warehouse because they didn't have too many other options. They were going to be on the street otherwise. They were living there, in essence, out of necessity. And there were many other warehouses in Oakland very similar as the Ghost Ship warehouse. And the reason they're there is because of the housing crisis that we're facing. So I hope that the Oakland City, that the leaders of the City of Oakland, Mayor Schaaf, and others take real measurable steps to address this issue first and foremost. So I echo my colleagues' comments that change and reform really needs to happen. That said, we're incredibly sorrowful. We always have been very sorrowful for the families. It's an incredible loss that they suffered. This is something that, you know, we've been a little bit hamstrung from saying to the media while the trial was going on, while the jury was deliberating. But now that they've reached a verdict, we can really let them know how truly sorry and sad for them that we are. Max is incredibly sorry and sad for them. He's always expressed his remorse, his wish that he could have done something different to save someone that died that night. We're incredibly grateful to all the members of the jury, all of the alternates, every juror that sat there through these 6 months was incredibly gracious to give all of their time and undivided attention, and it took a lot of hard work for them to get to this, but you know, they listened to all of the evidence very carefully, so I really commend all of them. They did a fantastic job, and we're very grateful that they were able to come to the not guilty verdict.
What happens with Max next? Is he going to be released? When? What are the next steps?
We don't have any details of that, and we're not at liberty to discuss that.
Curtis, could you speak on the podium? So is it the plan now, I understand, he is releasing immediately. Can you talk to us about the process? Is he going to be out today?
Immediately in a bureaucratic sense, and we don't know what that means. So we don't know when he's going to be released, and we don't know where he's going to be released from. So we don't want to make too many comments regarding that. We'd be speculating at this point.
You don't anticipate he'll be out today?
I expect he'll be out today, but I just don't, we can't get any answers. The Sheriff's Department is inevitably responsible for releasing him, so you'd have to direct your questions to them.
How long has he been incarcerated for? When
Almost 2.5 years.
Yeah, I know, but was it like in December or January or when?
It was 6 months after the fire, so it was about May or June.
Thank you.
James Mulgannon's going to make a statement.
It's been an honor fighting for an innocent, brilliant artist who never should have been charged in the first place, who had seemingly unlimited amounts of government resources and a government machine geared towards proving his guilt, despite all of the facts showing his innocence, and doing so to pursue their own political agenda. And I would also just like to echo the statements of my colleagues regarding the enormous amount of support that Max Harris had from family and from friends and people who became aware of the injustice of him being charged in the first place and who voiced their concerns and voiced their support. They have made a concrete difference in the case by keeping Max Harris hopeful, knowing that he's being supported and that he has a great support group through all of those nights in Santa Rita where he was enduring so much pain and fear and doubt. And also for us, our sleepless nights working in the case, the amount of morale that they've given us. And thank you for the jury for being diligent. And I'll conclude with that. Thank you.
Yes, and I guess one entity I forgot to thank was all of the members of the press who were persistent, who were sometimes treated like they were less than welcome. we really appreciated the fact that you were aggressive and willing to cover aspects of this case and bring aspects of this case to the community's attention. And I think the community really, really should not take for granted everything that the press did as far as advancing justice in this case. Thank you all.
Hold on, Mr. Briggs, why do you think that they acquitted Max and
I think that that decision accurately reflects exactly what happened. No, the fact that Max was acquitted is clear from the evidence. He should have never been charged. And reasonable people can disagree about Derick Almena's role. That's never been, obscured by anything. Yeah, reasonable people would disagree about Derick Almena's role. If they want to try Derick Almena, they need to charge the owners of this building. If they want a fair trial and they want to get a verdict, put the owners of this building in the defendant chair. But for whatever political connections that they have, they manage to keep themselves out of the defendant chair. And so until they put the owners of this building in the defendant chair, along with Mr. Almena, they're going to keep getting a mistrial.
Now that the trial is ended for your client, can you comment anything about the jury misconduct?
No. Under the aggravated. That's correct. All right. All right. Any more questions before we go? Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Everybody is really, really appreciated. Thank you, everybody.